3 minutes here at the top of the hour. Oh, we got the IB high, IB low set.
Yeah.
We broke out of it. We got out of it in the NASDAQ, not the ES. I'm trying to make sense of it, Hogue. If I didn't have you here,
I know.
We broke
out of it.
I can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but
did we?
Happy that it helped.
Yeah.
Happy
Below.
Oh, below. Correct. Yes, we did.
Yes. And NASDAQ above.
So
it's getting contrary information there, right?
Now I'm super confused.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it's just sector rotation, right?
Left to high.
Okay. Help me understand this. Help me make sense of this. Okay. Help me make sense of this, because extend the IB low and the ES, extend the IB high and the NASDAQ.
It'd look great if we came back
we like to look at each other and follow the leader.
I don't know about that.
We got conflicting stories here. So how do I make sense of this, Jack?
That Nvidia and Microsoft are way bigger percentages
NQ at the highs
of the NQ, especially Nvidia, as opposed to the ES. And then there's a lot of sectors that aren't as involved in the NQ. Like right now, energy is getting hammered. The XLE is down 1.76%. You got consumer discretionary down nearly 1%.
That's a pretty
financials down nearly 1%. So it's not surprising there's a divergence. It's not even a big one. I mean, on the day we got ES is basically flat. NASDAQ's basically flat. So there really isn't divergence. We're just looking at it on a very short time scale here.
Tell me to have perspective.
You had a graph yesterday. There's a graph yesterday. You guys remember that you pulled up, Jack, about the volatility of individual stocks versus the NASDAQ? This is a good example.
Yes, exactly.
Oh boy, mate.
Yeah, we have Nvidia up 3%, but the Qs and NASDAQ and SPY just scratch for the day. It's that settlement. So
up here again.
We're chop, indecisiveness. Individual stocks are getting the moves.
I would keep an eye on Nvidia as we get later in the day, because let me look this up, but Nvidia's got to be up huge in the third quarter, right? So if anything, towards the end of the quarter, I would expect some selling, some profit taking, some allocation readjustment from Nvidia, but maybe that's already happened. It was holding it down, and now it's off to the races.
CVD rising. 13.6
pushing all-time highs. I don't know.
Trying to make sense of it all.
At least to break to the
upside. 400 lot again, 67.10 in the ES offered.
Okay, they did come in at quarters. Now they came down to tens, or maybe the quarters did get filled. They came back in at 10. We're seeing those 500 lots coming in here. Make sense of all of it. We got the top of the hour has come and gone. We got the European close at the bottom of the hour. Will the NASDAQ make another push here? It is.
What? Who knows?
This is a tricky one, Braden. This is a tricky trade. Micros are your friend. Are you still? Can you update your P&L, Braden? How are we looking?
Yeah, I'm up 715 on the day.
Okay.
Also gotten
I'd say
3 micros short at 832, looking to hold underneath the overnight highs.
832.
That might be cooked. We'll see.
Big area of
Sean, institutions are absolutely selling Nvidia. They do every day. They buy a lot of it too.
I'd front run the 75s. I'd front run the 75s by a little bit.
Gold.
I mean, think about it. If you had, if 1% of your portfolio or like 2% of your portfolio was Nvidia, like a few years ago, a lot of institutions aren't going to sit around and have 40% of their portfolio be Nvidia.
We're getting a banger out of this.
You just got to sell.
Well, this short.
I don't know if this is right, but it looks like Nvidia's up 35% in the second quarter.
By half.
No, that sounds right.
That's going to be my take profit. This is going to be my trade. I'm going to let this.
You remember the beginning of this year, where we were looking at buying Nvidia in like 89?
Yep.
This is just back.
I do remember
back and forth multiple times.
He looks at his P&L.
Got out way too early.
I'm holding on to it.
All right.
Or something.
Will this be the time the ES can get out of the 67? 12s. And tapping those high 67.50. 15. 615.
I'll see how it develops on YM for the rest of the day.
We got the NASDAQ grinding this thing higher, 24,855.
On the live account off of the open.
Anything else doing here? It's gold.
Personal live account, not to be confused with.
Oh, check your Slack. James, I'm going to throw it to you. James, come on in. We'll let these trades play. We got about 28 minutes till the bottom of the hour is also the London close. James, we'll throw it to you.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. Guess what? Today is the day. Today at 1 p.m. Central, we've got another installment of Mindset Matters with special guest, Dr. V. Now, trading isn't just about the charts and numbers, it's also about your mindset. And Dr. V will share practical tools to help you stay focused, disciplined, and confident in the heat of the markets. She'll also answer your questions live, giving you the chance to get expert advice in real time. All right, that's all coming your way on Mindset Matters later today here on Top Step TV. Right now, we're going to drop a link in the chat for you to submit your questions ahead of time, and then make sure to tune back in at 1 p.m. Central today for Dr. V and Mindset Matters. We love offering these Mindset Matters segments, so we really hope you guys will tune in and take advantage of all the wisdom that Hogue and Dr. V will go over. Then also later today at 12 p.m., group coaching with Hogue continues on. Hogue, JD, and Hoop are all going to sit down and answer your trading questions live during their lunch hour. If you have a question about the charts, if you have questions about technical analysis, this is your time to get your question in and hear your answer read live from Hogue and the gang here on Top Step TV. That's today at 12 p.m. Central, so you get back-to-back trading education and mindset matters only on Top Step TV. You don't get education like this anywhere else. So be sure to tune in for group coaching at 12 and then Mindset Matters at 1 p.m. Back to you, Hogue.
Like Top 1 Futures, code RDF, Bookmap, and others. Remember,
thank you, James. Yeah, it's going to be
you want to check out Top 1 Futures? There it is.
Great day today. Always love doing group coaching with the guys, and always love when Dr. V's on here. It's going to be a lot of
giveaway,
fun.
Guys. Here we go.
A lot of great stuff. And yes, you only get that on Top Step TV. Make sure you hit like and share.
Updates and alerts in that main section. Ready? Here we go. I'm going to tag everybody right now. This way, if you're in there, you don't have all of the notifications.
We've seen a little bit of a pull off here off the highs here in gold after we just put in a new high.
Boom.
One of the deeper pullbacks we've seen.
It's in that channel right
we did take out the high of the initial balance in ES, so the failed downside auction actually completed at the initial balance high.
Being here. Talk to y'all
soon. A little,
thanks for the live session. We'll see.
Little support here at the initial balance high in the NASDAQ. Again, that initial
talk to you guys soon. See you in Discord. See you live here tomorrow. Maybe for Power Hour. I don't know. Maybe for London session. I said I was going to run some additional streams, and I am.
At least it traded one tick below our stop. See, Dakota, stop's always a better trade location.
Did it take us out in the rally?
Yep. It did go.
So the president of Colombia is a guy by the name of Gustavo Petro. And he's a leftist.
The bottom tick.
And he was here for the UN event recently in New York. And when he was here, he made some good trouble, let's say. Let me show you some of what he was doing. Let's start with this one. So he was outside of the UN at one point, and he was engaging with protesters, and he gave a speech. Now, the speech isn't in English, so I won't play it for you, but just here's a snippet for you. Quote, "We need to create an army bigger than Israel's, and we have to respond with war." Colombian President Gustavo Petro calls for military intervention during a demonstration against Gaza genocide in New York City. Look, I don't know about you guys, but this is an opinion that is perfectly reasonable to me. When you're looking at a scenario where hundreds of thousands of people have been killed, mostly women and children, you're looking at people suffering from severe malnutrition. They're being starved to death. You're watching the carpet bombing of humanitarian tent cities right in front of our faces. When I look at that, I say, well, if there's ever a time for intervention from the world, it would be now. Now, the difference is I don't want to do it unilaterally. I think that if something like that were to happen, it should happen through the UN. Gustavo Petro appears to agree that like a whole bunch of countries have to come together and try to force Israel to stop.
I actually short 5.
I don't know how anybody can disagree with that.
Some of the weakness we're seeing.
Is anybody's stance actually like, no, sit back and watch as hundreds of thousands or eventually millions of people get murdered on a live stream in 4K? Can anybody actually believe that makes the most sense? That's the correct reaction for the world to have.
See a retest of that.
So now here's the point. Even if you don't agree with what Gustavo Petro is saying here, it is certainly within the realm of reasonable reactions when you're witnessing a genocide. So he says that, but we're just getting started. He also was doing some event. He gave a speech in New York City calling for Americans to disobey Trump and do civil disobedience. Quote, "Today is the time to rebel. It is the time for revolution," he declares. He also said that he might take the Statue of Liberty with him
going to change later
because we no longer represent liberty in this country. Take a wild guess what happened after Gustavo Petro was going around saying incredibly based and correct things. Marco Rubio revoked his visa. That appears to be unprecedented. Hugo Chavez famously called Bush the devil in his 2006 UN speech, and his visa wasn't revoked. Fidel Castro, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, etc. never had visas revoked. This could jeopardize UN headquarters hosting agreements. So yes, this is without a doubt against the rules and something that is really not, it shouldn't be possible. It shouldn't be a thing. You basically have total immunity to say what you want. I mean, basically, like, it's free speech for these world leaders to come here at the UN and speak their mind and tell the truth as they see it. That is protected speech. In fact, here you had Gustavo Petro reacted to having his visa revoked and getting kicked out of the U.S. He said, quote, "There is total immunity for presidents attending the assembly, and the U.S. government cannot condition the opinion of the U.S. The fact that the Palestinian Authority was not allowed entry and that my visa was revoked for asking the U.S. and Israeli armies not to support a genocide, which is a crime against all of humanity, demonstrates that the U.S. government no longer complies with international law. The United Nations headquarters cannot continue to be in New York." And you know what? I think on the merits, I think he's right. I think he's factually right. I think they're going to reevaluate. I think they're going to revisit. And I think New York and the U.S. are going to lose the headquarters for the United Nations. Because basically what we have now is a thug, gangster, mafia regime that throws around its weight and fucks with people and doesn't care about the rules, doesn't care about the regulations, doesn't care about the laws, doesn't care about the Constitution, and just does whatever it wants for whatever reason or non-reason it wants in order to protect our satellite state that is carrying out a genocide and an ethnic cleansing.
It's what?
We're now banning the Palestinian delegation from coming to this country from the Palestinian Authority. Right? We're not allowing Iran when they're here. There's terms and conditions as to what they can and can't do. Apparently, they weren't allowed to go to Costco, among many other places. Kicking out Gustavo Petro, who's our ally, by the way. And let me just say, Gustavo Petro, this was very brave. This was very honorable. You said all the right things. I'd also watch out, because now the gangster thug government is going to have you in the crosshairs. And don't be surprised to learn they're going to muck up a whole bunch of bullshit about Gustavo Petro and say he's involved with drug trafficking or whatever other horse shit they pull out of their ass, and they're going to try to go after him. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen, because he's no longer towing the U.S. line. Colombia and the U.S. are allies and have been allies, but now a leftist leader. We know how the United States reacts when people in Central and South America elect leftist leaders.
All roads.
We know what they do. Virtually all the time,
it's a tradable market with that.
I think they're a terrorist. I think they're connected to a drug cartel. I think they're a dictator. Oh, I guess we have. They're even trying to do that with fucking Claudia Sheinbaum, who's the biggest success story, arguably, in the world right now, along with AMLO and the Morena Party. And what are they doing? We're going to go do military intervention and bomb the cartels. We're going to illegally violate the sovereignty of our top ally, Mexico, and bomb the cartels. They've drafted plans to do exactly that. If you are a leftist leader in Central or South America, there is a target on your back from the right-wing fascist regime in the United States. That's what's happening. Okay. And so here comes a truth teller and says the UN needs to militarily stop Israel and force them to no longer do a genocide and arrest Netanyahu. He says we need to do civil disobedience against the Trump regime because it's a criminal regime. And they go, how dare you? We're bad. By the way, also, can we just say, I know it's fascist, I know it's authoritarian, I know it's horrible, but can we also just point out Trump and Marco Rubio and the whole regime, they're the biggest little insecure pricks. They're little babies. Fucking anything that disagrees with their narrative. We're going to ban you. We're going to arrest you. We're going to send ICE after you. We're going to kick you out of the country. They don't tolerate any disagreement. And in fact, We just did the segment.
Yes.
How the new directive from Trump is
may have been
the FBI,
kind of
and the CIA, and all the government agencies and all the intelligence agencies.
Kind of
now
trade
you need to target
I haven't been
leftist terrorists and potential terrorists. So namely, if you hold anti-Christian, anti-capitalist views, then they say we're coming after you. Anti-Americanism. We're coming after you.
Quick in and out.
So in other words, if you disagree with us, if you're even slightly left of center to far left, we're going to make your belief system illegal. That's what we're going to do.
I was going to say maybe
and this is where we are.
No, NVIDIA.
And this is where we are. They can't tolerate any dissent, any disagreement whatsoever, any truth-telling whatsoever. And it oozes weakness. It oozes petty insecurity, right? Like, these are the biggest fucking cry bullies on the planet, the Trump regime is.
2040.
And this is what that looks like. It looks exactly like this. So Gustavo Petro kept it real, and history will judge him very, very kindly. But
I got most of it out.
In this moment, I'd look out if I was him, because they're going to keep coming after him. Now, by the way, I should also point out, Trump is on a bit of a crime spree now. Because as you all know, he's been illegally invading. He invaded Los Angeles and D.C. And
then NVIDIA
now he's wanting to add Portland to that list and threaten Chicago and Memphis and all these places. All this is wildly illegal and unconstitutional. But now he's committing other crimes. So look at this. Trump tweeted, self-proclaimed New York City communist Zoran Mamdani, who is running for mayor, will prove to be one of the best things to ever happen to our great Republican Party. By the way, let me just pause to point out, if that were true, Don, you would want him to win.
Just pushing
right? And then you'd sit back and watch him destroy New York City, right? If you think Zoran winning would help Republicans, you couldn't wait for him to get elected.
That ain't what we traded today.
To prove your point, right? He is going to have problems with Washington like no mayor in the history of our once great city. Remember, he needs the money from me as president in order to fulfill all of his fake communist promises. He won't be getting any of it. So what's the point of voting for him? This ideology has failed always for thousands of years. Thousands of years. Communism didn't even exist that long, you fucking jackass. Oh my God. It will fail again, and that's guaranteed.
We'll just have to go off the ADP release tomorrow.
I am going to sabotage you. I am going to illegally and unconstitutionally withhold funds from you because I don't like your political philosophy. He's admitting, I'm the crimes man. Watch me commit crimes.
You don't even know yet.
But also, what happened, buddy? I thought if you said he's going to be great for the Republican Party, why would you have to try to sabotage him? He would just destroy everything on his own, right? That's what would happen. Yeah, you know Trump thinks he'd be a disaster. Why? Because they've been working overtime behind the scenes trying to guarantee that this guy doesn't win. They cut a deal with Eric Adams and said, hey, drop out and we'll give you a position in the administration. That's one thing that happened. The other thing that happened is secret meetings with Cuomo, where Trump is effectively trying to help Cuomo.
Schumer saying
they're so sure Mamdani's going to suck that they're dedicating a lot of time and resources into trying to take this motherfucker down and then also sabotage him once he gets in there. It almost looks to me like they know he would be a success because they know social democracy is actually incredibly powerful and popular and beloved. Who knows? And that's why when FDR got elected, he won 4 elections. This was before we had term limits. He kept winning presidential elections, and Republicans thought we are cooked forever. Why? Because he delivered. Because he did the New Deal. Because he got us out of the Great Depression. Because he actually used the government for the people. That's what he did. He said, I welcome their hatred, talking about the elites, or as he called them, the economic royalists on Wall Street. He said, they hate me, and I welcome their hatred. That's what he said. This is that same philosophy from Zoran. And Trump's trying to undermine it every imaginable way. So I like the response here
I'm still all in.
Brian Krasenstein. He says the following. Breaking, Trump just broke multiple federal laws and went against Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution with this post. Election interference. So this portion of the law bars federal officials from using official authority to interfere with or affect the nomination or election of candidates. Bribery and extortion-like statutes. So this statute says it could be argued if funds were used as leverage to coerce political outcomes, civil rights violations, retaliating against voters or cities for election choices could violate this particular law.
Came in today with a slightly
it's conspiracy against rights and deprivation of rights under color of law. And you have constitutional violations. This violates the Appropriations Clause, Take Care Clause, First Amendment protections. Even prosecutors decline charges. Even if prosecutors decline charges, it would clearly be grounds for impeachment and abuse of power.
Do it.
Which
you got in it.
We come to the main point here. Democrats, let's do some shit.
We could start picking
I know you're hiding in the corner in the cuck chair, but I'm going to need you to go ahead and wake the fuck up and do your job. That's what I'm going to need. Because this, ladies and gentlemen, is unacceptable. The guy on a daily basis is like, hey, I'm the crimes man. I'm going to commit more crimes today. And Democrats just sit there and watch it happen and do nothing. And do nothing.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, we cannot have a system where the president of the United States because you have certain cities and certain states that disagree with him. Because of that, he goes, well, what if I cut off all federal funding to you and try to ruin you completely because I disagree? Well, that's called you're coercing them. That's blackmail and coercion is what you're doing. It's fucking unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, yes, this is megaphoning. If we make new lows now, this is going to be one heck of a megaphone.
I told you guys, as time goes by and his poll numbers go down, he'll get more desperate. He'll cling to power harder. He'll overreach even more. And this is where we are. He hasn't even been in office a year yet. And look at the sort of shit he's doing. What do you think he's going to be doing by year 3?
Red apples.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm.
You like
Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
I like those golden apples, Hog.
All right, guys. So
pullback.
This guy, Jeff Duncan, is running for office in Georgia as a Democrat. He's currently, I guess, the lieutenant governor. And he went on the I've Had It podcast with Jennifer Welch. And, man, this clip is glorious. So she, of course, look, she wants Democrats to win. I think any reasonable person at this point wants Democrats to win because when we look at the right, we're looking at people who have absolutely lost their minds. And so Democrats, as disappointing as they are in a variety of different things, at least you know they wouldn't cut pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels, right? Never mind, there's 1,000 things I could say here, but I'll just leave it at that for the moment. But anyway, so Jennifer Welch is interviewing this Democrat, and she asked him very simply about AIPAC. Hey, are you going to take AIPAC money or not? And what ensues is absolute fucking comedy. Yep. And she goes full on like, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed mom vibe. Watch this.
Will you take AIPAC money or have you taken AIPAC money?
I'm not seeing any buyers.
I'm not certain if I've taken it or not. I've been in office 10 years. It doesn't jump out at me.
Right off the bat, that is sketchy. That's sketchy, dog. That is
is a buck off its highs right now.
AIPAC, bro? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't even know, bro.
Even
with all this,
I think the most important
part will you for this race?
And NQ.
I have no idea. I haven't even thought about it.
Okay, come on, Jeff. This is like there's a
bro. All you have to do is say no. Like all you had to do is she was giving you an out. She was giving you a lifeline. She wants to like you. When she okay, maybe so her tone there was maybe you have taken it, maybe.
Definitely had the
but will you take it this time?
Showing it right
That's
now.
where you go. No,
of
course not. Of course not. Why would I take money from a lobby that is responsible at this moment for supporting a genocide and ethnic cleansing of hundreds of thousands of innocent people in Gaza? The majority of the dead are women and children. They're bombing fucking tent cities and hospitals and schools, for Christ's sake.
Take a step back.
Why would I take their money?
Wait for that opportunity.
Why would I take their money? That's like taking money from a fucking Nazi lobby. What are you, crazy?
I didn't always trade like that, Dakota.
All you have to do is say, no, I won't take any more AIPAC money. If I did, I don't know if I did, but from now on, I'm definitely not taking any more.
I have no idea. I haven't even thought about it.
Okay, come on, Jeff. This is like there's a genocide going on right now. And I mean, and even human rights, Israeli human rights groups see this, that the United States of America is funding.
To see these kids starving.
And to not know if you're going to be beholden to the Israeli lobby is to me is not something that should take time to think about, because you started off this interview with us talking about your faith. Will you take AIPAC money in this race?
I have no idea. I haven't even thought about it.
I'm going to hold it.
Wow.
I like how we're
okay, I want to take that moral clarity that you have right there,
nothing notable,
and then ask you again. Are you going to take money from AIPAC? Because just there, you talked about, and AIPAC is what helped. They gave Trump over, I think, $200-300 million. Are you going to take money from a group that lobbies to deny that that's happening to those children?
I'm not going to give you the shallow answer of saying yes or no, because
oh my God, this is fucking impossible. This is so hard to watch. The national environment for Democrats right now, without them even saying anything or doing anything, is like plus 8 points for the midterms.
Let's go.
The way this guy is acting is the only way Democrats can blow it. This is the only way.
Yeah, we're starting
Democrats
to
can blow it.
That range we were in.
Like, really? Really? Do you believe in anything? Like, does anything matter to you? Or is it all just you care about careerism and self-aggrandizement and trying to get in a position of power?
Can't hold that.
Like, why are you doing this? Why be a politician? Why be in public life if you clearly don't give a fuck about people or trying to improve shit?
I'm gonna leave
and have moral clarity to talk about the starvation, the famine, and the genocide. Then it's a very easy jump to then just say across the board, you wouldn't believe how popular you'd be, Jeff. You just wouldn't believe how popular you'd be if you said, I am not taking money from AIPAC.
We'll certainly continue to look at it.
I hope that you do. Jeff, I wish you the best of luck. I hope that you can report back to us sometime soon that you've thought about these AIPAC donations and that you will not accept them and partner with them in this, because I think that you will have so much more credibility. And how uncomfortable did I make you? I was kind of all in. I wish that people would have more rigorously, done this with our politicians and called them out more directly. I mean, I think I'm teeing him up for what's about to happen.
God bless her.
Braden with a
God
banger
bless
there.
her. Look, man, anybody with a functioning brain at this point, or like a bare minimum morality compass, wants the Democrats to beat the Republicans, because either the Democrats or the Republicans are going to win, and we see what this Republican Party is doing, and they have gone full fascist. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not close. They are so far gone, it is absurd. Right? It's not even like a political party anymore. It's like a fucking death cult. It's a death cult masquerading as a political party, and they run everything. So we all want Democrats to do better. We all want them to win.
Yeah, just bounce off.
But for the love of God, you got to stand for something. You got to believe in something. You got to be authentic. You got to care about children who are being blown to bits with our money and our weapons. And who's lobbying for that here? It's AIPAC. It's the Israel lobby. It's the military-industrial complex.
Leon in the chat?
You shouldn't be accepting. That's what, guys. Why do you think? I always say, if I ever ran for office, the first thing I do is I say, we don't take any big money whatsoever. None. It's all small dollar donations. All of it. Just like, how do we finance this show? Small dollar donations. There's a grassroots funded show. Because that allows you to be a truth teller. That frees you up to be honest. Right? You're not beholden to lobbyists and big corporate interests. And power players with money, elitists, right?
I want to add
and guys like this, it's like, again, I just don't get it. Why are you in politics? Why are you in politics if you don't care? Why are you in politics if the issue of the genocide in Gaza doesn't fucking move you?
I covered some at 87.
Why are you running? If you're a Democrat, why are you running? Why do you care if you're not allowed to go out there and say, hey, we shouldn't do an illegal and offensive war against Maduro in Venezuela, a country that didn't attack us, is not going to attack us, that we're going to on offense against them. If you can't say that, what's the point? If you can't come out against bombing Iran, what's the fucking point? If you can't scream at the top of your lungs about Trump cutting Meals on Wheels and pediatric cancer research and Medicaid, what's the fucking point? Why are any of these Democrats in it if they don't fucking care about these things? This is what we don't want this from you. We demand this from you.
39.
We need authenticity, we need truth-telling, and we need you to focus like a fucking laser on these disgusting fascists on the right that are ruining everything about this country. Everything. And so how do you differentiate yourself from them? It's very simple. Stand against all of their bullshit and stop taking money from AIPAC and other big money funders, corrupt big money funders, and actually stand for something. We're going to raise the minimum wage. We're going to give everybody health care. We're going to do paid vacation time. We're going to restore fucking Medicaid after it was just destroyed by Trump. Right? We're going to bring back Meals on Wheels, fully funded. We're going to bring back the pediatric cancer research. We're going to block war with Venezuela. We're going to block war with Mexico. We're going to not fund the genocide and the ethnic cleansing anymore. Like, again, I just don't get it. It's so crazy because when you look at Republican politicians, every single one of them seems to be all the fucking
100%.
Trump can fart out some idea at 7 in the morning, and by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, every single one of these idiots is out there parroting it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No questions asked. They're all in, all the way, on whatever dumbass idea Trump just vomited out. Right? Democrats, they're literally like not allowed to say dick. I mean, we just talked about this, but earlier today I saw Ada Chavez posted something that top Democrats are telling all the Democrats in Congress, hey, don't fight back on the Venezuela thing. Don't come out against regime change in Venezuela, because if you do, they're going to accuse you of being pro-Maduro.
Try to cover some in the 70s.
Well, they accused Democrats of being pro-Saddam Hussein in 2003. When they did the Iraq War, and obviously in time, we were totally vindicated in saying, no, we're not pro-Saddam Hussein, we're just against illegal and offensive wars and wasting trillions of dollars in U.S. lives and innocent civilian lives overseas.
Well done.
Take a fucking stand for once in your life. The Republicans seem to believe every single thing they say to their core, as evil and horrible as those beliefs are, and the Democrats don't seem to have any belief.
Well into the 80% long. Well, now we're back to 66%
It is confounding, bro.
long.
This party, the Republican Party, should be so easy to beat. It should be so easy to beat. I mean, they're clowns. They're like caricatures of human beings.
On that range.
All the fucking guys are hardcore closet cases. That's a fact. Right? They half their talking points are just bloodlusting for the death of Palestinian babies overseas when they're not riding Trump's tiny meat. Right? This is all they do. They cheerlead the destruction of the social safety net, the destruction of the economy with this stupid fucking trade war, the opening of concentration camps they love, the illegal wars they fucking love. You can't beat these people. You can't beat these people. I think we'll end this segment with this point. You need to make Jennifer Welch the head of the DNC.
I will not be
Let her
Becky,
fucking
Robert,
lead the party.
Because
this is what we're going to need. We're going to need an alliance between the far left and the resistance liberal wine bombs. That's what we need in this country to save it. Don't talk to me about no fucking negotiation, bipartisanship, compromise nonsense. Where like Ezra Klein wants to snuggle up to some MAGA freaks and try to build a coalition that way. No, we need a liberal and leftist alliance to fix this country. And it's people like Jennifer Welch that will lead us out of the darkness. And she deserves more power because that's the sort of drilling that we love to see, and that's the sort of mindset that we want from all of our Democratic politicians is to answer, hell no, I'm not taking AIPAC money. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
You're watching the legal breakdown, Glenn. It looks like Oregon's Attorney General is wasting no time in pushing back against Trump's effort to deploy troops into Oregon. These are federal troops into Oregon. He's already pushed forward the effort to get this thing in front of a judge in the courtroom. We now have an update to explain what just happened in court.
$60.
Yeah, Brian, there was actually an emergency hearing held on Sunday night, and the judge said he's going to take up the state's
move to the downside in the for an injunction. Really accelerated. Once we hit 6,700, 66.99, really saw that push lower to bottom out 66.93.
And the judge suggested that he will decide it
at the bottom of the range in the NASDAQ.
Order. So,
that range that we were in,
at the moment is that Donald Trump made good on his threat to basically use
a reaction there is not totally unexpected, but
citizenry
I would like to see.
by putting them out
I would like
on
to
the
see this movie
streets
get
of
exhausted
Portland for absolutely no reason. There is no invasion. There is no rebellion. The federal government is not unable to execute the laws of the country. So this is as lawless a deployment of military troops as
10:30 or 11, Jack. What was the update on the
military troops
11
in Los
Central.
Angeles? I want to talk
Central.
more about that in a minute. But as of right now, there are 200 troops on the street. And
Dakota, what did you just mutter?
Judge
all for what?
He is going to be ready to move
I'm
out
all for a deep red day here in these markets. I need to prepare for a stand rally.
Stop the Trump administration from doing what it is doing presently.
And just as a quick aside for those who are watching right now, if you'd like to follow along with this case and other legal news as it continues to progress, please make sure to subscribe to both of our channels. It's completely free. I'll put the links in the post description of this video.
All right,
Glenn, it's worth here. When California tried the same thing,
6,700, right back to 66.99.
The preliminary injunction or the temporary restraining order,
just came in on the bid, 66.99.
That was granted by Judge Breyer in the trial court, but then it was reversed by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And now, of course,
a wishing order way up there, 67.49 in the ES, about 50 points higher, 40 points higher.
Just the initial effort to block the deployment of troops was prevented in California. Why was that? And is this
Santa Rally technically the week after Christmas? Is that true? I always thought it was pretty much all December.
I think it was because there is this extreme
it's around that time of year. I consider it just around there.
To the chief executive in matters of military, in matters of law enforcement, and Brian,
to the top of the check, got those mindset matters, those questions in there that 1 p.m. Central today,
setting out why he believed this was lawless.
Questions in there.
Why he believed.
First, we got morning recap coming up after
of
this.
California
then we got
win on the merits.
Top step.
Having a reasonable
John London. Always
likelihood
going
of
to see John London.
success
JD
on the merits.
Then we got shoulder tab. Yes,
what
shoulder tab.
Militates in favor of an injunction because if you're likely to win because the executive branch, Donald Trump's administration, is doing something
million years
unlawful
of experience in
right
their family
now,
business.
the normal course should be, well, then we have to maintain the status
experience,
quo.
the knowledge,
stop to what the Trump administration
you don't get that anywhere else. So make sure you stay tuned. I watch every day. I'm still learning, still asking Hogue
in the long run.
What's
but
that?
Sort of balanced against that is this extreme deference that is typically given to the executive branch and to the chief executive in these
Power
matters.
Hour, we got Barrett,
and that is
we got
by
Dolby,
and large because of something called the presumption of regularity. The courts say when the federal government executive does something, he is presumed to be doing it.
Locked out. That runner got taken out. I still think we get it, but
motives, right?
Well, we came into this came into fast markets at about what we're at now.
I would argue, and I'm writing a piece about this right now,
getting,
that he actually deserves a
presumption
range
of
irregularity with as many.
I'm ending fast markets how I started it, but
really are unconstitutional.
All right,
there is nothing.
Great trading, man. Great trading. Good job, man.
That is what led the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to decide that we're not going to
I think we started fast markets and I was at like 13. So.
Fine. Judge Breyer went on to hold a trial.
Good stuff. Brady, I want to get back to that. I want to talk about the ride, the roller coaster we had here in Brady's Piano Live trading. With that being said,
did by deploying the military to the streets of Los Angeles and by federalizing the national
big bucks around here for that morning recap.
And co-opting them and using them,
my man. What's up?
All right, thanks, guys.
Violated two.
Pleasure.
And the reason that becomes so important now in the Oregon litigation, in the Portland litigation, is because
I'm gonna be honest.
I'm
going to do the same. I'm going to do the same with you. I'm going to join you, Braden. I am going to lock myself out as
is
well.
Not strictly speaking
Plus 336
precedent for what a federal district court in Oregon will have to
There we go. Another.
However,
another day
when you have the same facts,
I was nervous,
when you have the
Dakota,
same
when
law that applies to this issue in Oregon as it applied in California, as it would apply in any state.
That you were tempting fate.
This issue has been
call that the cockroach in the last bite.
I almost locked out last night. I was up $2. I was joking during slow markets.
He will assess the
reasoning. Lock out and call it. I had all green, but I'm more about the process. Let's see. I don't mind. Hey, if today was a red day, so be it. Tomorrow's another day. We're going into October.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Was in a vacuum, the judge in Oregon might look at the facts of this case, might give the presumption of regularity to the Trump administration. But to what extent does the fact that we have an almost identical situation that just happened in California,
maybe it was slow markets or maybe it was a fast market segment,
you were saying
that you're open to the idea of
in favor of California and against
a couple more. What more do you need to do to prove to yourself
precedent on this
you're ready? Are you interested in trying
that
to
might not otherwise would have had any impact if we hadn't seen all of this play out in California first?
Now, it sounds crazy, right? Because you look at this and you're like, oh wow, why aren't you going to copy trade?
As was the case with California Attorney General Rob Bonta,
this is not enough data for me.
It's
nice, it's a good start, but it's not enough to say okay,
to warrant
things have changed. Right? Is this just am I just on a hot streak? Is this just in the markets? What's going on?
Failure of the local government to be able to effectuate its laws.
Exceptions, not the rule.
The Attorney General in Oregon, Dan Rayfield, said the exact same thing. He said it to me when I interviewed him just this weekend. He said there was no insurrection or invasion, no
2-3 months for me to identify that I'm struggling, and 2 to 3 months for me to identify that I'm back on track.
Can
so 1 month in the book,
the trial court in Oregon
probably another to go where I feel confident to say,
set forth by the trial court, Judge Breyer's court in California, and use that to inform its decision.
Yeah, Brian, here's why that is so important. Judge Breyer's findings, his conclusions, and his
roller coaster P&L. You came in up $1,200-$1,300 bucks.
Notice that if
a couple losers getting along there.
What was the P&L? Federalize the national guard.
You're positives throughout, right?
As federal.
Yeah, we never went red.
In Oregon, in Portland,
I can't. I didn't put any risk parameters in place to make sure I didn't go red, but I think mentally I was not going to go red today
because of the ruling in California.
Like if that last trade lost,
when he had just
the lowest P&L today was about 4.
Came up with some half-assed arguments. They were
full-assed. Yeah, so $1,000 and
said, "Listen,
long from 800
I'm doing
to
it for the first time in California. I think it's lawful. I'm going to have my DOJ lawyers, hacks though they are, go in and argue that it's lawful."
More or less.
Had at least
$1,000 in there. We found our way back into
this is unprecedented, and we're going to.
I guess you would call it break even on the day. Brian, because we started this session at 1,300, ended it at 1,300, so we fought back.
repeated,
man.
knowing,
and
intentional
get my meta glasses
violations.
The meta glasses. Have you been able to locate? Have you pre-ordered them? Are they waiting for you at the store?
Of regularity.
I'm gonna go grab them at Best Buy right after this.
Deploying the military
$7.99
unlawfully. So I have to believe that will weigh heavily in the Oregon judges.
Okay, so you got a little 400 over your meta glasses.
Why do you think that if Trump already lost in an analogous case in
net
California,
positive day, go buy those meta glasses.
Why is he trying this elsewhere? What is the point of him going to Oregon? And I presume him going to go to Chicago and get hit with the same lawsuit.
Real quick,
him going into other states around the country. Why?
I'll show it again. I don't mind showing it. Hey, I've been on shoulder tap here, Andre. You guys see the negative, so
a judge who's willing to comply and set some type of precedent where these deployments of federal troops
I would actually not the counter. Let's go to your stats one more time.
That as some legal framework for him to be able to do it in other jurisdictions.
And win percentage. What's the win percentage for the month?
The intentional illegality
63.9
is the point. He's not looking for a judge to rule that what he's doing is legal.
Before the summer, we were talking what, in the 30s?
Judges can rule that it is illegal.
30% win percentage.
35 to 33% is where I typically
I actually think he's embracing
past
the illegality of it. I think he'd be disappointed if it turned out he actually had a lawful right to do the things he's doing, because that's not what dictators do. They don't comply with the law. They don't remain within the bounds of what they're allowed.
It was a rough 3 months too. It was rough. It wasn't just a straight line. It was find some success and struggle. Okay, find something that's starting to work, and then just no. And it had its ups and downs. And thankfully, I've been able to share that here on Fast Markets on Top Step TV. And then again on my slow markets class, I shared the entire journey, and I'm going to continue to do so.
By another federal court judge,
slow market, 7:30 p.m. Central Time.
Is there some concern?
Who will be joining you today, this evening, Dakota?
Some judge who's willing to uphold
Tuesday,
as legal, maybe not in the Ninth Circuit.
Barron,
I think is going
to be joining me.
To the 11th Circuit, if I'm not mistaken. Once
usually it's Thursdays.
More conservative or Republican heavy
Tuesday now. So
courts, then not only is there
nice to have him back in the mix,
like what
joining
would be
me on
created in the
slow
trial
market.
court, but now you have legal precedent, or if it's
Power Hour
within that jurisdiction, binding legal precedent that gives him
the
ability to be able to do this elsewhere and have plausible deniability that what he's doing is in fact legal.
Tricky price action, to say the least.
I'm concerned that there are judges who will ultimately rule.
Still think we see 720s, but I'm locked out. So
yeah, you are.
I can't trade it if I wanted to, but this still looks really bearish to me. Now you have VWAP.
Frankly, I can probably
now rejecting from the
who will
underside,
rule that it's
so
legal.
looks good.
More precisely, I could name the justices.
Look at the
Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch.
We're not locked out here.
No, we're not, Jack.
And Roberts.
The range started to play again. You see how we came back down to the bottom of that range, found buyers. We went right up to the top of the range, found sellers. So,
as Donald Trump,
I mean, if you're still wanting to play this range, we came back down, and it was still a play.
The Constitution obliges
a president
down there, right? To take care that the laws of the nation faithfully executed.
I took some off in 87.
The exact opposite.
I took some off on this first break lower in 87, and then I added back in the 90s, and then I took those off in the 60s, and then just left some runners that got stopped out. But this looks so good lower.
Definitively,
if I wasn't locked out, I would throw a micro at it. Why not?
Great.
And the reality is,
I love it. 24,770.
Supreme Court. Trial courts and circuit courts be damned.
We seem to get a little more volatility in here. Just the person to bring on in when we need a little boost of volatility.
If he does have one ruling in the Ninth Circuit and a different ruling in the 10th Circuit, one of the jobs of the Supreme Court is to deal with circuit splits when there's confusion about what the law actually is, because you've got one circuit that says one thing and another circuit that says another thing.
With Dakota and Braden locked out, that means I have a captive audience. Emphasis on captive. Hello, everybody. How we all doing out there on this wonderful, beautiful Tuesday?
In front of the
markets were rocking, presidents are talking.
The thing that really
and last Wednesday,
and the only
YouTuber,
the last word as
wanted to sail across the to the Isle of Sicily in a bathtub, and he did.
Front, I think, is what he's
YouTuber
so
Max Foch traveled from Seneca in Cornwall to Hugh Town last Wednesday
this thing for
in a bathtub. was just a boat motor attached to it and a GoPro up front. The entire voyage took him 8 or 9 hours, 8 to 9 hours. He says, other than being utterly bored and his back hurting, he says it wasn't too bad of a distance. And if you're asking yourself, why would a guy travel through the water on a boat? Well,
Trump signs an executive order that is so much more dangerous than it looks. And I've got 2 interviews this week. I'm joined by Jamie Raskin to discuss an Epstein update, and John Favreau from Pod Save America to talk about his feud with the vice president. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen, and you're watching No Lie.
Got in there, made the journey, and the first thing he did was go to the local pub.
Trump just signed an executive order that's getting virtually no media coverage, which I suppose makes sense considering he's sending troops into Portland, he's prosecuting former FBI Director James Comey, firing U.S. attorneys who don't agree to engage in vindictive prosecutions, he's sicking his FCC on comedians who hurt his feelings.
So remember, follow your dreams.
The executive order here designates Antifa as a terrorist organization, and at first blush that doesn't really seem effective because Antifa isn't like a real thing. There's no organization called Antifa. There's no membership, no meetings, no central structure, no leaders.
So you just know that one of us is going to be going from Milwaukee to Muskegon
that don't actually exist, meaning it's not really worth the paper it's printed on. But that's actually the wrong way to think about this, because in fact, Trump wants this executive order to focus not on a specific group, but rather on an amorphous idea.
I thought this story was interesting.
Why? Because then he can bunch anybody he dislikes into this group. It is expressly because Antifa isn't a real thing that he can say that someone he doesn't like is part of Antifa. And if they say that they don't have a membership, he'll say, correct, no one has a membership, but you share their ideals, meaning you fall under the umbrella of this organization. And the reality is that this is the natural conclusion of his effort to continue basically criminalizing the very idea of progressivism. Remember, he has sued or attacked law firms aligned with the left, universities aligned with the left, media outlets aligned with the left, nonprofits aligned with the left. And now, this is his way of going after regular people who are aligned with the left. And think about what he did right after this executive order was signed, threatening to send federal troops into Portland. This way he can go after regular people, catch them in the dragnet that is his Antifa executive order. He's covering every base he can. And if he's not going after you he's doing everything he can to have a chilling effect on anyone even thinking about speaking out. But here's where I draw some hope. He is doing this from a place of extreme weakness. Let's be clear. You don't go after comedians if you are confident in your agenda, if you're confident in your ability to
turn around and hit the gas.
His poll numbers are plummeting on every single issue, including the economy, inflation, and immigration, the issues that he literally won the 2024 election on.
My favorite news story
is more unpopular than Joe Biden was at this point in his term. The only president in modern American history who he's about even with is himself during his first term. And remember, he lost 41 seats in the House during the 2018 midterm cycle. Americans can see the bill of goods that they've been sold.
We now let people on the internet do anything.
Feels almost insane to say, but dude ran as a populist. He pretended he cared about the price of eggs. And since he's taken office, he sent the cost of everything surging. Inflation's been rising every month since March. He's failed to stop the Russia-Ukraine war that he promised he'd end on day one. He vowed to protect earned benefits and instead ripped healthcare away from 17 million Americans. The Epstein files not only didn't get released, but Trump is in them, and he's got the entire federal government covering it up. And the only major piece of legislation that this Republican Party has passed is a tax cut that
there's a couple things going on
favors
here.
Millionaires and
First of all, the man in
farmers
question
are getting
from
fucked.
This burning building
the working
is
class is getting fucked. Small business owners are
Mr.
getting
Beast
fucked.
has
they
a
know it,
bajillion
and
trillion
Trump knows
dollars.
it. That is
and
why
if you
he's
think Mr. Beast
careening
is going to
full
burn a
tilt
man
into
live
authoritarianism
on
because
YouTube,
he 100% knows
he
is
might
sure
actually do
that Americans aren't buying the con and that they're
on.
preparing to revolt against the GOP. So he'll continue to use every tool at his disposal to make us feel powerless,
curated and staged.
The Jimmy Kimmel situation just days ago is proof of that.
Now, I'm not defending
we just need to recognize our power here, and that comes not just from organizing, but from every single one of us who is watching and listening right now, recognizing our own agency.
But I do want to point out, he's not just tossing
when
people
we
into
protest,
a pit and
that
then
means we bring 10 people along. When we boycott, bring 10 people along. And when it comes time to vote, bring 10 people along. We have a window, shrinking though it may be, to get ourselves out of this.
Crude's absolutely just wild action going on here at Crude. We saw about
no one is saving us here. No prosecutors or attorneys or judges or the Democratic Party. It is up to us to wake up, acknowledge the agency that we have, and save this country for ourselves.
Go ahead.
Next up are my interviews with Jamie Raskin and John Favreau.
I was testing your movie knowledge. I was talking about Mr. Beast, and that's all the stories I got to you. So let's get back to that crude oil action. Take a look at those charts. See you guys tomorrow.
Stuck in jobs.
Mindset Matters at 1.
Or never really in the first place.
Thank you, James.
Look, I've heard it all. What if the next month is even worse? I've already put years into this place. I can't afford to take a wrong step. Who am I without this title? Isn't everybody kind of miserable at work? And look, those feelings are real, but they're also why so many people stay stuck.
Yeah, we look like we were cooking
That's
down.
where
We couldn't
today's
take out the
sponsor,
lows of the
Strawberry.me,
day
comes in.
so far.
They connect you with a certified career coach who helps you go from where you are to where you actually want to be. Whether you're looking for a change or feeling stuck or facing a big decision or just seeking professional growth. It's like therapy for your career. A coach helps you cut through the noise, define your next move, and turn vague goals into a real-world plan with the kind of accountability that keeps you moving forward. Plus, their coaches are thoroughly vetted and assessed for their qualifications and expertise and come from a wide range of backgrounds, experiences, and specializations. So don't leave your career to chance.
Do they do
Take action, own your future
anywhere
with a coach
besides
in your
California?
Corner. Go to strawberry.me/BTC to claim your $50 credit and get started. That's strawberry.me/BTC. Stop settling, start building the career you actually want. No Lie is brought to you by Everyday Dose. Now, for those of us who are looking to take care of ourselves, there are plenty of supplements on the market to be able to do that. But supplement stacks are expensive and they're hard to keep up with. Everyday Dose is affordable and covers all of your bases in a cup of coffee.
You miss every shot you don't take.
It takes 30 seconds to make, and you get coffee plus a bunch of supplements with vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. Everyday Dose is coffee plus benefits. It combines 100% Arabica coffee with powerful ingredients like lion's mane and chaga, collagen protein, and nootropics to fuel your brain, boost focus, and give you clean, sustained energy all day long. No crash, no jitters, just clean, sustained energy. Two products here to highlight: Coffee Plus and Coffee Plus Bold. Coffee Plus is a mild roast, light and smooth, low acidity, which means it's easy on sensitive stomachs and has mellow energy. Coffee Plus Bold is a rich blend of medium roast, 100% Arabica coffee, robust and full-bodied, yet smooth. Extra boost of energy. Both are 100% Arabica coffee,
just looks
have
heavy.
Functional benefits, and are
I agree with
mold-free.
you, Braden.
Everyday Dose
I wouldn't
does
be
third-party
surprised if we
testing.
break through
Get
the lower days
45%
today.
off your first subscription order of 30 servings of Coffee Plus or
it's-
Bold Plus. You'll also
I'm
receive
so
a starter
confident
kit
in
with
it
over
that-
$100
well, obviously it
in
doesn't
free
matter
gifts,
'cause
including a
it's on a
rechargeable
simulated account,
frother
but I
and
never
gunmetal
usually go to a
serving spoon by
simulated
going to
account and just simulate a trade.
everydaydose.com/BTC or entering BTC at
I'm sure on a
checkout.
simulated
You'll also
account.
get
Yeah, just
free
for-
gifts throughout the year. That's
Just because, like, I don't know.
everydaydose.com/BTC for
It is
45%
just a
off your
practice
first
thing.
order. No Lie is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on
I would like to
Prize
see if
Picks,
this would
being
work. Like,
right
to
can
me,
get you
this is
paid.
a move
Don't miss
that
any of the excitement this season
should-
on Prize Picks, where
should,
it's good to be right. I'm
so
especially
quick,
excited
like
about
50
Prize
points
Picks
of
because
downside.
with politics being as grim
Break
and
above the
heavy
range,
as it's been,
become exhausted. Now we're
football
right
has
back
been the one
into
thing
it
to actually get my
with
mind away from this stuff.
buying
And there are some
candles
especially
here. Yeah, this-
exciting
this
parts
shit
of
just
Prize
dumb.
Picks that I've been focusing on
what'd
lately.
you get?
The first week has a few player call-outs. So, for
71,
example,
20
Saquon
micros
Barkley, they're offering up
20
more or
micros,
less than
well.
one rushing touchdown. Anybody who knows Saquon Barkley knows that it's very likely that he'll get more than one rushing TD. So that's an easy call in my book. And there are other ones exactly like that. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 players' stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks is also the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 plus states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And they put their users first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on Prize Picks. So download the app today and use code BTC to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code BTC to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. I'm joined now by Congressman Jamie Raskin. Thanks for joining me.
I'm psyched to be with you, Brian.
So let's talk about a situation that Republicans are trying to stave off as much as they can, and that is this Epstein situation. We now have enough members of Congress who have signed on to the discharge petition with the newly elected Democratic member in Arizona's 7th Congressional District. So now that that's happened, can you walk us through next steps in terms of actually getting some transparency on this issue?
Yeah, the arrival of Ms. Grijalva is a game changer.
I don't
for
think
us
we'll have
because
it, but
we now have the votes we need. The signatures we need to discharge the petition
non-farm payroll,
from the clutches of the leadership, which doesn't want us to be voting on that bill. There's overwhelming support in the country among Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody to release the Epstein files. And this was one little parcel of corruption that we thought Trump and the Republicans would side with us on in terms of exposing the corruption to the world and having some transparency. But of course, after Trump had 1,000 FBI agents working around the clock to go through all the files and the videos and the pictures, and they came back with apparently lots of appearances of Donald Trump, and they decided to sweep the whole thing under the rug. So we believe that if we can maintain the discharge rules the way that they are, we're going to be all right in terms of forcing the bill onto the floor and getting a vote where it will pass overwhelmingly. And then it will go to the Senate.
Andre, is this just
the Republicans are talking about changing the rules.
And so what would that look like if they did try and change the rules?
They could try to increase the number of signatures you need to go from a majority to some kind of supermajority. They might bury it in further procedural complexity and convolutions. Who knows what they might do? We've seen them do this kind of thing before. And we just have to make clear to the public what's going on. This is a cover-up. This is a complete cover-up when Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump were campaigning on release of the Epstein files and revving up the MAGA base on this. They were saying that they would, blow the cover on this international child sex trafficking ring. And now that it's clear that Donald Trump is, if not directly implicated, in at least somebody who knew about a lot that was going on, they just want to sweep the whole thing under the rug.
When you talk to your Republican colleagues, and I'm not talking about Thomas Massie because he's been consistent on this issue, but is there some, at best, discomfort from these people who recognize that they're putting all of their credibility, staking their reputations on this new cover-up where they just basically try and prevent any transparency on the files or accountability for the people that were involved? Is there anything that pushes them away from this steadfast inability to move away from this issue in deference to Trump?
Well, let's give credit where credit's due. We've got Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, that Marjorie Taylor Greene. We've got
kind of going back to the top.
Nancy Mace, at least for now.
Again, I will find out.
We have Lauren Boebert.
We actually go.
And we have Massie, all of whom have sided with all the Democrats in saying release the files. Kash Patel said it himself going on podcasts. This is totally within the control of the FBI director. Don't give us any nonsense about old cases that had to do with Epstein and Maxwell and a grand jury hearing and a few dozen pages there. That's an absolute distraction and deflection from
those. I would have loved to go in there.
More than 100,000 pages worth of materials that were collected directly by the DOJ and the FBI. They raided Epstein's home, so we can find out every was involved.
Take a look at FedWatch
from 4 banks, including JP Morgan, that there were $1.5 billion worth of suspicious activity reports. That means this is at least $1.5 billion business operation. Don't tell me that was all for just one guy.
And is it possible, knowing that there are these transactions that might point to certain people who this administration and this Republican Congress are clearly trying to protect, is there any way for Democrats in the minority to be able to compel some of that information, or does it solely rely on Mike Johnson and John Thune having enough of a spine to defy Donald Trump and actually get this stuff brought forward?
Well, we've been working with the survivors of the abuse who've really been a motive force here to bring out as much information as possible so people know. But they also are joining us in the call to release the files. Ultimately, we're not going to be able to get the administration to release the files without a law compelling them to do that. That's why we've got our discharge petition. That's why we're fighting for a vote on the House floor, and then we'll be fighting for a vote in the Senate. And I would not want to be a member of the House or a senator of any party or any persuasion who votes against doing it. So I think once there's an actual vote, we're going to win.
Just to clarify, at the end of this process, though, the discharge petition will compel a vote on the House floor, which is something that Mike Johnson doesn't want to happen because he doesn't want anybody going on record for this thing. He wants this whole thing put to bed.
Because that's what Trump wants.
That's what Trump wants. It'll then send it to the Senate, where it'll put those senators in difficult positions of having to decide whether they want to protect a pedophile ring in deference to Trump or actually vote their conscience and do the thing that they said during the campaign they wanted to do, which was get some transparency on the Epstein situation. But if both of those succeed, at the end of the line, this thing does have to get signed into law by Trump himself. So how are you thinking about that part of it?
Corruption operates on secrecy, and Donald Trump so far has been getting the Republican leadership to follow him in saying there's nothing to see here and we just want this whole thing to go away. It's too late. The cat is out of the bag. So Trump would be forced to decide whether or not to sign it. If he vetoes it, then we would be forced to take a vote to see whether we could get 2/3 in the House and Senate to override it. It's a pretty extraordinary thing for this matter, but it does go right to the heart of their operation, which is all about corruption. Most of it is money corruption, which is, you know, the pattern with authoritarian regimes, that people are in there to take bags of cash, like Homan allegedly.
Like Tom Homan literally did,
a bag of $50,000 in cash in return for steering government contracts once he got in. But Trump himself has made billions of dollars since January. But what's all that money for? Well, for a lot of people who are that corrupt and that sinister, it's not enough to have that money. You want to be able to traffic in human flesh and exploit girls and engage in international child sex trafficking and so on. And it is part of that political operation to cover up that kind of crime too. Yeah. And so that's why this is important. It goes right to the MO of the Trump regime.
And one different instance that we have at play right now is the effort by Trump and his FCC, with the help of FCC Chair Brendan Carr, to quash any public dissent of this administration. So as far as the Kimmel situation is concerned, what oversight does Congress have in terms of hauling Brendan Carr in, given the overt violation of the First Amendment that we saw with this federal government trying to get Jimmy Kimmel canceled because they were upset that a comedian said mean things about Daddy Trump?
Yeah, and this is just pure government censorship. I mean, you can see it very clearly in another country. If you had the president of the country ordering the commercial broadcast regulators to shut down a comedian who made fun of the president. And that's basically what just happened. And Brendan Carr, the chair of the FCC, who also was a critical actor in Project 2025, views himself as an instrument of political revenge and retaliation for the president, and openly browbeats and coerces his broadcast licensee regulated entities to do the political will of Donald Trump. So if Congress cared, that is, if the majority of Congress, if the Republican, the narrow Republican majority cared, we would haul them in to talk about this outrageous violation of the First Amendment and freedom of speech. But the Republicans, again, are just proving themselves completely invertebrate and unprincipled and just going along with it, despite all of their increasingly fraudulent rhetoric about the First Amendment. They just don't believe in it. They only support defending the right of free speech for people who agree with them. That's not free speech.
What was your reaction to seeing some of the old tweets that Brendan Carr had posted, kind of extolling the virtues of free speech and lamenting any push toward government censorship, only for him now to be the principal actor and actually trying to do something that's never happened in this country, which is legitimate government censorship. The issue that they planted their flags in purporting to detest.
But that's what it means to them. They defend free speech for right-wing speakers.
Then run the other direction.
Yeah. And look at this, you know, they want to open up a whole investigation.
But it is a very mechanical process.
That
first 5 minutes, whichever side it breaks out,
George Soros and the left and the far left, Antifa, whatever they're calling it today.
You can really have some big days, a lot of trend days.
Is an effort by them to use the power of government to silence and censor people who are their political opponents. Again, that's the opposite of free speech.
You know, it was interesting that there is a very small faction of these Republicans who signed on to the Epstein effort that includes Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Thomas Massey, and Nancy Mace. And there's also a small faction of Republicans who decided to speak up as it relates to this Jimmy Kimmel situation. You've got Rand Paul and Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. So strange bedfellows indeed, but bedfellows nonetheless. And so what was your reaction to seeing that this was an issue that is so unpopular as far as Trump is concerned, that he managed to unite Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and the entire left?
Yesterday we opened with a gap.
I'm glad that there are at least a handful of
trade.
people left
Opening
on
range was
the
the
right
high of the session.
Who are willing to stand up for free speech
right at the end
across
of the day
the board.
here.
I mean, imagine if
so,
Joe Biden's FCC chair was castigating particular news networks and saying, you've got to get rid of this person, you've got to get rid of that person. We can do it the hard way or we can do it the easy way, but you're going to have to do our will. I mean, that is totally what an authoritarian society looks like.
So let's take a look at the 5-minute
mobster talk.
A real look at
increasingly, it feels like the Trump administration is turning us into a gangster state where they pardon the people who actually commit crimes, like nearly 1,600 people who violently assaulted police officers on January 6th and tried to overthrow the government. They put those people in power. Then they don't prosecute people who are their political friends, like Mayor Adams, people who are willing to go along with them, and then they antagonize, they demonize, they vilify, and then they try to investigate and prosecute people who haven't done anything wrong. And that's what's going on with like Comey. That's what's going on with Adam Schiff. That's what's going on with Letitia James and so on.
You taught constitutional law at American University for years prior to becoming a member of Congress.
Trade, actually. I mean,
watching the overt attacks on the Constitution taking place right now, how does this make you think about all of this? How does it make you think about the resilience of the Constitution? Do you have hope that we can see a way out of this, or
it did give us a little bit of grace.
Succumbing to the forces of what I think Trump wants, which is for people to feel despairing and hopeless?
Oh no, I don't feel despairing and hopeless at all. I see people fighting back all over the country. I see people fighting back in the law firms against the attempt to censor and subdue the law firms. I see people fighting back in the colleges and universities against the attempt to trample academic freedom and have Donald Trump control the universities. I see my constituents at the NIH fighting back against the effort to gut scientific research and to replace science with propaganda and disinformation. People are fighting back in every sector of society, but we are definitely in the fight of our lives, and we need everybody engaged and everybody involved. And it just won't do for people to sit back and say, I'll let the Democrats do it, or I'm down on the Democratic leadership, I'm not going to do anything. Everybody needs to be a leader in this moment. Everybody.
As you kind of watch this process play out and head toward midterms, what should people know about the importance of making sure that Democrats have a House majority and, if possible, a Senate majority as a way to check this president?
Well, look, we are now up against this extreme gerrymandering that's begun in Texas. All power to Prop 50 and the people of California.
They go back to the highs.
Fighting back and not taking it lying down, but they've already moved on to Missouri. They're moving to Kansas to go after my friend Sharice Davids. They're talking about Ohio.
Let's take a look.
Our traders do whatever we can to stop that and to fight back. But ultimately, what we need is a huge popular movement to take back Congress, and we've got to take back the House of Representatives and cut this reign of terror in half. That's why I'm working with the Democracy Summer Project all over America to galvanize thousands of young people to spend next summer with us, the summer of 2026, in the fight of our lives, so that we are winning every swing in the country, and we surprise them by winning in even places where it feels like we've been gerrymandered into oblivion. We're going to be fighting everywhere to win back Congress.
20 points of profit on that. Dakota finishes.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Of 336.
Joined now by the co-host of Pod Save America, John Favreau. Favs, thanks for joining me.
Of course.
Winning days.
So you've had a busy week. You are embroiled in a public feud with the Vice President of the United States. So I'm going to put right here on the screen tweets between your interaction with you and JD Vance. So the Vice President has tweeted, "This obsessive attack on law enforcement, particularly ICE, must stop. I'm praying for everyone hurt in this attack and their families." And of course, that was community noted with a note that says, according to ICE, the 3 individuals shot were ICE detainees,
losses or scratches in all of this.
ICE agents themselves. So you tweeted to him, "The Vice President is not a reliable source of information.
He took a little break.
He said, "You know what? I'm going to just relax a little bit. We're going to contradicted by facts from his own law enforcement agencies."
He found it later on.
To which the
calling
vice
this
president, second in
definitely
line to the presidency, tweeted at you, the gunman had anti-ICE messaging carved on the bullets he used. What precisely did I get wrong, dipshit?
We were looking
so
at
I gotta
the
ask,
high of
first
the
and
initial
foremost,
balances, kind of an important
what
level.
is the immediate aftermath of being attacked by the vice president?
Preemptive of a failed upside auction.
First of all, I've been called
at like a true failed upside auction, but he took the
shorts.
Also,
he's second in line to the presidency.
The market started
doesn't seem like he has much to do.
Pay him.
So the immediate aftermath, it seems fine. The way I found out is that one of my friends texted me and said, have a good day, John. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I looked on Twitter and I was like,
he took 3 off at 24,787.
But
put him back
that I got into it with him
for a total of 5 contracts.
I think it's very,
he was short 5, covered 3.
At best unhelpful, at worst dangerous for government officials, particularly the vice president of the United States,
at about an average.
Come up with political takes before an investigation has even begun. The suspect hadn't been identified yet. There was no evidence yet. And it turns out that the suspect who killed himself ended up having messages that were anti-ICE and seemed like that. But we didn't know that at the time, and even now we don't know the extent of his motives. And then J.D. Vance, right after he was tweeting at me, went and gave a speech and called it left-wing violence and blamed Democrats and blamed Gavin Newsom for calling the government authoritarian, for using the word authoritarian, saying that is violent, blamed people for wanting ICE agents to take off their masks so that we would have masked agents running around throwing people in vans. And so it really seemed like more of an attempt to silence dissent, to silence critics, and to cripple the opposition, because now they're going after progressive groups, than it did anything else.
So there's a small faction on the right that is trying to claim that, like, we're just looking to tamp down the violence that's happening at the hands of the left. But when you come out, as soon as something happens and spread kind of like a incendiary rhetoric, isn't that doing the polar opposite of the thing that you purport to want to be done in the first place?
Yeah, and we can go back and forth on the hypocrisy here, but I think the real
sleep well.
I think what they're really up to is they have been wanting to go after left-leaning organizations
and just looking for any pretext to
crack down on free speech for some time. We know this because Stephen Miller gave away the game when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He said Charlie's last message to me was like, go after those left-wing groups, and we've been working on this for a while. So they've been working on it before the assassination, and now every time there is violence, every time there's political violence, every time there's a shooting, before we even know the facts, they're just using it as another excuse to engage in this government crackdown.
One big element of that is that using an excuse to go after any political group is like a small part of a larger whole. We saw that Trump has been pushing his U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia to go after his political opponents. He tried to get his own appointed U.S. attorney in Eastern Virginia to go after Letitia James. They said there was no basis to actually do a prosecution, and so that person was just fired. And this again was a U.S. attorney appointed by Trump himself, replaced by someone who was perfectly willing to do Trump's bidding. We have a clip here of Donald Trump being asked about the prospect of subsequent prosecutions. Here's what he had to say.
I'm James Comey. Now that James Comey has been indicted, who is the next person on your list in this retribution?
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical left Democrats. Because Comey essentially he's worse than a Democrat. I would say the Democrats are better than Comey.
So there's no list. There is just a number of names in a particular order that may or may not have something to do with each other.
Who he has talked about numerous times, said that they're guilty. The President of the United States now determines guilt or innocence, determines who will be charged with a crime and who will not be charged with a crime. The other side of the coin here is, Tom Homan, who's running ICE for him, is on a video and recorded taking a $50,000 bribe, but they're not looking into him. So this isn't justice. This is the president gets to decide justice, and that's what happens in authoritarian countries.
Right, and the fact that this is on that point of an authoritarian country, I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, using every instance as a way to kind of amplify the rhetoric and increase like the acrimony in our politics. Like, this is where Trump. There are a lot of people that are saying that Trump's job right now is to lower the temperature, but Trump's goal at the end of this is to be an authoritarian, and the way that authoritarianism thrives is expressly by allowing one person to be a demagogue. And so if he brought down the temperature, he wouldn't be able to accomplish his goal. Like, he doesn't want to preside over this country in a democratic way. He views himself as an autocrat, as an authoritarian. And so the way that you do that is by demagoguing your enemies. And so expressly when we have these scenarios where there's violence, the only job for him is to make sure that he can blame the left.
If no one complained and no one opposed him and no one spoke out against him, he'd be fine, right? And everyone could just live their lives normally. But if people start to complain, if people don't like the way he's running the economy, if people don't like what he's doing with ICE, if people have any kind of complaints about his corruption, well then he's going to use the power of the state to silence you. That's what's going on. And this idea that we can't call the government authoritarian, that means that if you really did have an authoritarian government, they could do whatever they want, because the only thing you're not supposed to do is call it out.
Call out exactly what it is.
Right, and I do think that the government threatening to silence anyone calling them authoritarian is not the most effective way of beating the charge that you're authoritarian.
To that end, we had a bit of a weird update. So there was a video that swept across the internet of an ICE agent throwing the wife of a detained migrant onto the ground in a facility,
what are you seeing in
a courthouse, rather.
So I mean,
I think I can that ICE agent, we had just found out today, has been let go, has been he's no longer working for the federal government. And so this was striking because it was one instance where an otherwise completely untouchable agency saw some small modicum of accountability, which I was surprised at, because we've seen so many of these instances happen where there's no accountability, where it's just baked into the cake, nobody can stand up to these people, and nothing ever happens. Why do you think this particular instance was different, where you have an ICE agent who's done something that we've seen countless times in videos that have swept across the internet before, and yet in this instance, that particular ICE agent was let go?
I don't know exactly what happened there.
Order filled.
Opening range trades.
Things that made this somewhat unique. You could see the guy didn't have a mask on, so you could see him, who he was.
They gotta fix that. Can't let somebody's identity be.
It was
assaulting people on behalf of the federal government.
It was quite obvious that the person he assaulted was not even someone that they were trying to detain.
Order filled.
And there was no confusion about who started it. Remember the one where like the guy was like had a weed whacker and he was cutting the lawn, and then they tackled him and tased him, and then they were like, well, he was running at us with the weed whacker first, like there was no question about what was happening here. But I think however this went down, whether it was internal pressure or whether it was someone who decided to have a modicum of self-dignity and respect in the organization they work at, who the fuck knows. I will say this wouldn't have happened. This person wouldn't have been let go if people weren't filming it. And one thing they are trying to do is to make sure that people can't film what's happening with ICE, right? They are trying to chill not just speech but protest. And so part of all these orders Trump signed this week about cracking down on Antifa and left-wing organizations and left-wing violence, what they really want is they don't want people to show up and protest ICE. They don't want people to film them. They don't want people to know what they're actually doing. And so I think it's a lesson for all of us to keep it up and go out there, be nonviolent, be careful. You don't have to get up in police officers' faces or ICE officers' faces, but you can certainly stand by from a safe distance and film what's going on.
And that's a small part of a larger whole that we've seen thus far, where when people are making their voices heard, we've seen that it's having some impact. And granted, this is not some new phenomenon. We're boycotting or protesting is going to have an impact, but it's especially pronounced
talk
this
about
week, not
trading,
just with what we just saw
as long as the government
shut
down, because everyone's going to be waiting
with the Kimmel situation.
Next. That Fed meeting
there was
John was talking about,
a major boycott that resulted in Disney opting to bring Kimmel's show back onto the air, which I didn't think, which I'm virtually assured would not have, which I'm virtually certain would not have happened if it wasn't for that boycott, because as it stood, Disney felt like the only downside in this whole scenario was undermining Trump, and they didn't think about the fact that, okay, there's a flip side to that, which is that our consumers are going to have a say, and they're going to cancel en masse. And I wouldn't be, I mean, we don't know what the numbers look like in terms of how effective the boycott was, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were tens or hundreds of thousands of cancellations. And so
John,
when they felt that pain, and the only language they talk is financial, then they say, okay, maybe it's actually worse to kowtow to Trump, to capitulate to Trump, and to leave, our talent twisting in the wind and basically give a big fuck you to our consumer base. But then we just have news as of today that Sinclair announced. Sinclair is one of the affiliate stations, the affiliate groups that owns these affiliate stations where ABC is broadcast. They announced today, quote, over the last week, we've received thoughtful feedback from viewers, advertisers, and community leaders representing a wide range of perspectives. Our decision to preempt this program, Kimmel's program, was independent of any government interaction or influence, and that they will bring Kimmel's show back onto ABC stations on Friday.
I'd like a little bit more of a pullback.
Already a right-wing media group. There is a really famous, there's a famous video, I believe Deadspin put it together, of all of the Sinclair broadcasters reading from the same script. This is a right-wing company.
Micro gold positions.
So they outlasted even Disney. Why do you think if they had the perfect pretext to be able to say, hey, we're never going to put Disney back on the air, even they opted to
I just think buyers step in for some reason.
I'm sure they had
1 minute
pressure,
chart,
right? And they're
usually like going to
and,
5 minutes or longer, but
they lose that programming, and they just put something else in there that maybe they wouldn't get the same ratings. Maybe they felt public pressure.
Get into a trade here, John. Let us know. JD, the S&P, you were talking about that range. Right now, it kind of feels like we're sitting at the middle of it.
Or people canceling
I had a New York session VWAP, which is pretty much a flat line, right at 67.04.
One thing about elites
we're trading 67.05.
capitulating to Donald Trump is that they're elites and they care about elite opinions, and they care about
maybe an opportunity to short
the media, and politics, and what they're hearing from even people that they know and their friends.
I agree with you on the upside. We've got
I think that matters, and so I think that the more people make their voices heard, sometimes there are economic levers that we can pull, which is like saying I don't want to subscribe anymore, but it's also just making noise. Like the people who are making these decisions and making them often from a place of cowardice. I think that bucking them up and letting them know how you feel, it does matter.
Like Bob Iger making his legacy that he capitulated to Trump.
He doesn't want that.
Not once, but like multiple times.
He doesn't like Donald Trump, right? And so he can make business decisions and this and that, but he's thinking about his
sort of megaphoning right now.
And also it's worth noting too that I think I'm curious your thoughts on it, but it feels like these companies are beginning to have some begrudging acceptance of the fact or acknowledgement of the fact that when they negotiate, when they engage in some negotiation with Trump, you don't placate him, like you don't satisfy him. ABC News paid him $16 million, I guess in hopes that he would leave them alone. And instead of leaving ABC alone, he basically just smelled blood in the water, attacked them once, realized how weak they are, realized how willing to capitulate they were, realized how easy it was to exploit them, and threatened to do it again publicly after they decided to bring Jimmy Kimmel back onto the air. And so you gain nothing by negotiating with Trump. He is not a good faith negotiating partner. He will roll you the second it becomes politically convenient or financially advantageous for him to do so. And so do you think that there's some acknowledgement from these companies that engage in deal making with Donald Trump, that it doesn't buy them the thing that they think they're buying?
I certainly hope so. I mean, that was my first reaction when I watched Jimmy's monologue the night he came back.
Like Andre says, these guys have seen some shit.
You know what? We need this. The country